Okay, I haven't written 4 PMI certifications. I've written the PMI PMP, PMI RMP, PMI PBA, and also PMI ACP. I'll be sharing a lot of thoughts on how PMI set their exams and what will make you pass your exams when you're doing the PMP exam. Of course, in the last 2 years, PMI has really focused their attention on the agile content. And I see that exam writers today are reporting that over 80% of the exam are agile questions. And most times, most project managers that have been managing project majorly either in construction, major environments whereby they've been using the waterfall methodology. But now, of course, the emergence of technology from the year 2000 up, you've seen a lot of insurge of more technological projects being run across the globe. So what the challenge most people have is, how do I immerse myself, even though I'm not in the technology space or software development space, but I'm coming from the construction area, and you're saying that there should not be a project manager. It's like abomination to them because they've been used to having project managers, having structures, bureaucracy, one way thinking, one big head, bigger than everybody. But now you're talking about a new environment, a new world, whereby for us to come up with great projects, we must collaborate. The agile mindset has been a major challenge for everybody trying to write a PMP exam, because immersing yourself, even though you're in the waterfall environment, and thinking as though you're practicing an agile environment to pass the PMP exam has been a major challenge. So the agile content exam, I'll be going through about 200 questions with you guys. This video will be looking at just 20 questions and seeing how you can crash and give the PMP exam an uppercut and say, get out of me, I'm going to spank you, I'm going to pass you at the first try. So let's go to the first question. Okay, so if you look at what you see on the screen, we have there saying, project team meets to estimate user stories for a sprint. Of course, if you're praying for PMP exam, you should know definitely that the project team, you must estimate the user stories, because before we talk about product backlog a lot, and you see the product owner collecting requirements from all the stakeholders in the format of user story. Of course, those requirements sometimes, those stakeholders might not be very knowledgeable on how to write user stories well. So you collect them in candidate stories, then you help them transition them from candidate stories to user stories. So a project team meets to estimate user stories for a sprint. There's so many techniques that you need to know how to use to estimate user stories, because the agile is based on the pillar of empiricism. It means that all of us that are practicing agile, we're assuming we're moving into a complex environment that nobody knows what to do, nobody knows how to do what to do. So the task ahead of us, or the user stories, are things that we must all come together and estimate it using relative estimates. So we've come together to estimate user stories for a sprint. While an important non-functional requirement must be delivered in the sprint, the estimate of this non-functional requirement exceeds the sprint capacity. And don't forget that the development team or developers don't take more than what they can achieve within a sprint. We say they must always ensure they only take on user stories that they can complete based on team velocity and team capacity. So when you see this, we say the estimate exceeds sprint capacity, meaning that they won't be able to complete it within the sprint. Whenever we take on any work that we cannot complete within a sprint, then it almost seems like we failed. Why? Because we have to requeue it back into the backlog and reprioritize, and you don't want to do that. So now the team must not take on a work that they perceive that they cannot finish within a sprint. So this particular requirement exceeds their sprint capacity. So what should they do? A, estimate only functional requirements that will impact product quality. When you talk about requirements, there's something we call requirement classification schema. We have different forms of requirement. We have business requirement, we have stakeholders requirement, we have solution requirement, and we have transition requirement. But when you look at your solution requirement, there are two types. We have the functional and you have the non-functional. They are both important because a client is telling you that I need an object that can do this, but I want it this color. I want it of this quality. So you are saying you should downplay quality and just talk about functionality. Now, some people are against driving purple cars. They say, give me a car that can move, a Toyota Corolla, black, but black color. If you bring to that client a red color or yellow color, that guy will not take it. Why? Because his non-functional requirement, which is the yellow color or purple color, does not meet what he wants. So he's still going to be dissatisfied even when you deliver it. So you cannot downplay non-functional requirement and take on functional requirement. So that's the no-no. So the project manager must ensure that both, or the team must ensure that both requirements are captured. And when they're estimated, there must be something we can finish within a sprint. So estimate only functional requirement that will impact the product quality is a no-no. So you need both. So add team resources. That's not possible because as you're adding more, and don't forget that before, when you talk about Scrum team or Agile team, we have a capacity. They cannot be more than 10. And if they're not more than 10, and you're saying you should add more, to where? So that's no longer Agile because we're now more than what we should be. Now, the third one is refer the issue to the product owner. Come on, the product owner does not assist in estimating. He just tries to protect the value, ensure that whatever we are embarking on achieve the value of the business. So it cannot be that. Now, the D means break non-functional requirements into those that can be delivered in the given sprint. So we need to go back and break down that big non-functional requirement. Either you want to use the 3 C's or the characteristic invest, but make sure you break down those work back to be smaller user stories, whereby they are independent, negotiable, valuable, estimatable, small, and testable. So you need to break it down. So the best answer is D. A development team and product owner disagrees. That's serious. On the user story in the product backlog. What should the Agile practitioner do? Okay. So have the development team follow the product owner's direction. It's a collaborative thing. It's not something that somebody commands. So if there's a disagreement, then it's very valid. So let's look at the second one. Openly challenge the product owner in the effort to poke holes in their approach. That's antagonistic. Maybe that happens in your company more, but that's not recommended in Agile projects. Now, facilitate a conversation about the user story between the development team and the product owner. That's sounding close to what we're looking for. But let's look at D. Serve as a non-partisan evaluator of each option and provide direction to the development team and product owner. Now you are turning it back to waterfall, whereby somebody makes decision. So the Agile practitioner does not have that kind of capability. So C is the best answer because you need to ensure when there's a disagreement between the team members and the product owner, you need to ensure that you set up a meeting, a collaborative meeting, whereby you can assist them to understand themselves. And you know what? You cannot move on until they understand themselves, until the team understands the product owner, and on the product owner communicates well so that the team can understand him. So if the product owner is not communicating well, the Agile practitioner should coach the product owner on how to communicate well. And if the team also, they're not understanding something or probably something is happening, Agile practitioner also should try to coach them to ensure they understand it. So C is the best approach because we're not saying the Agile practitioner should make decision, but should facilitate a conversation between the two so that they can agree. Okay, so the third question is, a project is starting and the type of work is complex. That sounds like an Agile project already. Complex work is majorly Agile and suitable for Agile. So in assessing the team members, it appears that collocation could be a challenge. Now, it's very essential. Probably we must collaborate. But it's possible in the world whereby we have different teams working from different parts of the world, collocation might not be an option sometimes, but collaboration is a must. So even when co-location is not possible, because somebody's in India, somebody's in the US, somebody's in Nigeria, and we're working on the same team, but collaboration is a must, but co-location might not be possible. So with that in mind, so let's say, what should the Agile practitioner do? A, select and implement collaboration tools to augment team interaction. That sounded like the answer. But let's look at B. Provide each geographical area with their own product owner so that they can be divided. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So that's an Aluta house. So that's not going to what we're going to take. C. Increase the number of requirement documents and ensure they are clearly communicated. So the problem, what they're having is a collaboration problem, not a documentation problem. So let's look at the D. After several sprints, calculate velocity based on primary team location and use secondary team as reverse. This does not even speak to the question at all. So when you look at the answer, A is the best answer because it promotes collaboration. So wherever the team is across the globe, you must invest more in collaborative tools that can make sure we bring back the co-location experience even though we are far apart. So A is the best answer. Question 4. Team A is working on the second sprint of a product release. Team B, which is an interdependent team located on the same floor, requires exclusive and frequent information to complete a sprint goal. Now, this question is speaking to Scrum of Scrums, because sometimes you have a lot of work to do, PBIs, product backlog items, in the product backlog. That's so much and you want to move faster. So what you do is to have micro Scrum teams. So you have things like, don't forget, and a Scrum team can have more than 10. So imagine we're working within the same product backlog, but on different teams. So we have team A, team B, team C, but we are working from the same product backlog and we have the same product owner. So when you have those in place, then we need to ensure that all the values of Agile is also being followed, even though we're working on different Scrum teams. But since we're working from the same product backlog, transparency is important. Every Scrum values is important, and the Scrum pillars must be upheld. That's transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So with that in mind, you know that it's important that you ensure information is in a place that everybody can see it. Either we're working in the same space, so when we're working from the same product backlog, that means we're all accountable for the success of that product. We must all have the same access to all the information necessary without asking. So if I have to request for information, then it's no longer Agile. Okay, I have to say, hello, sir, can you give me, or I'm begging another team member to show me, and we're both we're working from the same product backlog, then it's no longer Agile. So let's look at the answer. What should the Agile team do? Create a central repository for information and provide access to the team. That's not Agile because you have to provide access. They need to, it's their information. So why exactly you have to give them a gateway or authorize them to have access? That's a waterfall mindset. So let's look at the second one. Use an information board that will be visible to all passing through the workspace. One of the major good things about Agile is we use things like osmotic communication and information radiator. That means everybody can see it everywhere. That sounds more like the answer, but let's look at the next one. Email all stakeholders with status updates. That's also like you're sending them information again. That's waterfall. Now, provide team B with the information on an account. That's also bad because it means that they have to queue for information before they get it. And that's not supporting transparency, which is a major pillar of Agile. So B says, use an information board that will be visible. That's transparency to everyone. So B is the answer. The fifth question, more details for a story are required before the upcoming sprint planning meeting. What should the Scrum Master do? Email the product owner requesting for detailed story specification and wait for a response. That's a waterfall mindset. Sending emails, that means, there's no collaboration. There's no strong interaction between the product owner and the Scrum Master, and that's not necessary. That's not going to be the answer. Gather the details from the team members before sprint planning. Gather the details from the team members before the sprint planning. Schedule a story grooming session with the product owner before the sprint planning. Conduct a planning poker session before the sprint planning. Now, you see, who determines what we do within a sprint majorly, because it's a prioritized backlog. The product owner is responsible for prioritizing the product backlog before the team, during sprint planning, can even choose the PBIs, product backlog item that they want to work on in the sprint. So, the major goal of sprint planning is to ensure that the development team, they have the necessary backlog of what they'll be working on within the sprint. So that information, that meeting, can only be successful if the product owner have prioritized what is important. Because it is what the product owner says is important that we want to work on. Because that's what will give value to the business. So if you email the product owner, that's not strong collaboration. If you gather details from the team, they are not the ones that you need information from before you proceed to sprint planning. You need it from the product owner. So schedule a story grooming session with the product owner before the sprint. That sounds more like the answer, because the last one is saying you should get information or estimate from the team. The team is not the source of truth. The product backlog is the source of truth before sprint planning. So, C is the answer. Schedule a story grooming session with the owner. That's the product owner, because he knows what is most important to the product and the business. C is the answer. Question 6. During planning sessions, an agile practitioner notices that some team members do not share common ideas. What should the agile practitioner do? These are coded team members. They don't like sharing their ideas. So what should an agile practitioner do? A, ask the team if they would like to adopt alternative techniques. B, create a team norm document to set particular guidelines. C, ask the Scrum Master to resolve the issue at the stand-up meeting. D, capture feedback during lessons learned at the end of the iteration. Now, you see, for every Scrum team or Agile team, when we come together, there's something we talk about, the team charter. It's called the do's and don'ts. What you should do, what you must not do. And this is a practice that is not negotiable. People must know their do's, what they should do, what they should not do before they proceed to any session. So during planning session, an agile practitioner notices that some team members do not share common ideas. They must share common ideas because there's team norms. So the norm says you must do it. So it's not about your preference, it's about what's in the team charter. So the team charter is actually what I call the team boss. Because even though we don't have a project manager direct anyone, but the team charter is what directs and governs everybody's behavior. Just like in most companies, they have ethical code of conduct. And in your company, there's a code of conduct that people must follow. It's not negotiable. So it's that what forms that organization. And that's what forms this. Now, the team charter is what forms the agile team collaboration, shall I say, rules. So if the rule says information must be shared, then it must be shared. So B is the answer, because create a team norm document to set particular guidelines to how we collaborate. Okay, let's look at question 7. Prior to a retrospective, discussions among team members indicate conflict. An agile practitioner wants to ensure an open and safe environment during the retrospective. What should the agile practitioner do? Review established ground rules, with the team. Ask team members specific questions to identify the cause. Encourage the team to continue working to maintain iteration, schedule, meet with the product owner and stakeholders to discuss the issue. Prior to retrospective, discussions among the team members indicate conflict. An agile professional wants to ensure open and safe environment, so the only way you can do that is to have ground rules. Ground rules is the one that can ensure that people have a safe and, should I say, a safe environment, open and safe environment during retrospective. So without ground rules, anybody behaves anyhow. But with ground rules, people follow the rules and ensure that would be the major. So if your retrospective session, there are rules already on what should be done and what should not be done, then you should follow that. Because you cannot be resolving conflict during that session. You want to ensure everybody is free to talk and everybody can be heard. So there must be ground rules that nobody shut down anyone. When somebody is talking, you allow that person to complete what he's doing, because we're working as a team, and one of the major values is respect. So if you truly respect everybody, you need to hear everybody out before you make your conclusion. So A is the answer. Review established ground rules with the team. The eighth one, a company is considering developing a new complex application that will require a large initial investment. However, if successful, the profit potential is high. If. When preparing an analysis, what should be used to encourage stakeholders who are concerned about project failure to authorize the initial investment? Of course, everybody is always, they're always concerned. Nobody wants to fail. So it's normal. So what would we do? Because it's a complex application they want to run, meaning that nobody has done that before. But we need to embark on it. So everybody is scared. So what do we do? What's the best thing for us to do? Now, A, calculated planned percent complete. B, many small minimal marketable features. C, story points rather than cost estimate. D, calculated end value. You see, when customers are not happy, they're scared. That's why we work in iteration. We work in bits so that we want to constantly bring what we've done at every milestone. We call it at every sprint or iteration. That's every 30 days. We'll bring it to them to see what we've done so far. So they start building their confidence that, oh, since they were scared, because the more you interact with them and show them your progress, the better they feel. So now, one major thing is this concept we call minimum viable product. It shows that at least there's a proof of concept, that what they were thinking, you're giving them a proof of concept. So the first thing to do when people are not confident about what you want to do, since what you are doing is complex, has not been done before, is to even give them a sample of what you can do. So that gives them a bit of confidence. So when they see, even when it's not the full-fledged products, but since they can see that, oh, there's a direction already that you're going, and it looks as if you're getting it. So what that does is that it encourages them when you showcase the first bit of what you are doing to them. So the best answer here is you should do many small, minimal, marketable features. That means you break things into modules, little bit by bit, incremental delivery will make them keep building their confidence every time. So if you're doing a product that should have like 20 features, why don't you first release 2 to them? And they get to be more encouraged. So just like when you're trying to build a website that's going to be very complex, why don't you first do the home page? Now that even stir up the conversation that, oh wow, things are working. Then you add a new increment. So minimum viable product, minimal marketable features are very essential to build people's stakeholders' confidence to what you're doing. So B is the answer. Okay, let's look at question 9. While reviewing the sprint burn down during a stand-up. Now, I assume that if you're preparing for the PMP exam, you should know about the tools that the team will have to make use of when they are trying to manage their performance within a sprint. One of those tools is the burn down charts, okay? And also we have what we call the Scrum board, or some people call it the tax board, whatever board you need to, that will show to do what we're working on now, what we've completed, and what is done. So those tools are necessary, but they are using this burn down charts to check out what they did yesterday. They said they will have done 20 story points, but they've done 12. So we're asking questions why. So this guy, look at the question, says, the Scrum team now identify during that session that they are falling behind. Upon further discussion, they discovered that some quality assurance team members, how do they make that team anyway? We don't know, but they are part of the team already. That means there's some skills they have, but probably they don't just have those skills. And of course, it's necessary. That's why all of us are meant to work together to make things great. Not one person should have all the skills. So members were unable to use the automation framework, which caused a bottleneck. So the question you ask yourself is that that's the reason for even the stand-up, so that we have the courage to speak up, to see what you cannot do, and everybody's come together to rally around you to make sure things work, okay? And that's why we need a lot of cross-training. That's why we need a lot of people that know how to do it, to stand with the people. And if you look at extreme programming as a method, we have what we call pair programming, whereby two people have to focus on one task and do it together. All we're just trying to say is that we don't point fingers when it comes to agile teams, but believe that all of us are responsible when things don't go well, okay? So now the role of this guy, let's look at the best answer. What should the Scrum team do now? For upcoming sprints, have the QA team members ensure that their respective skills are considered when accepting stories. No, they're part of us already. So if they're part of us, that this answer looks like you're seeing them as separate from you. If they fail, we also fail. So it means that that's not the best answer, because we're not taking responsibility and we're not showing shared accountability. Okay, that's not part of agile values. Now, have QA team members with the appropriate skill set spend extra to help teams succeed, meaning that they will leave what they are doing and start helping others do what they are doing. At the end of the day, we're not productive, because those guys need to keep on their work. Because if you keep helping people do what they are doing, they will never grow. So that one is like you always be their helper. So you're not empowering teams, and that's not the best answer. Now, ensure the QA team members who lack the appropriate skill up for training within the next few weeks. This is still seeing these guys as is their life. Let them go and fix themselves. Let them go and do whatever they need to do to upskill before the next sprint. But how will they do it now? Because the sprint is not meant to be more than 4 weeks, okay? So when will they spend time to go and go and learn outside before the next time? Of course, there are things they must do now to ensure that we promote focus within that time. So the best answer should be D. We say ask QA team members, experience, the ones that know how to do it, with the new automation framework. People that know how to handle the new automation framework should cross-train the other ones within that same sprint. So it means that there's shared accountability, shared responsibility among these guys. So the best answer is D. The QA team that knows what to do, they know what to do, should cross-train those people so that they're empowered. They're not helping them. They're training them, but they're taking that responsibility that they're sharing knowledge and they're making sure their other team members also grow up at that level. So D is the best answer. So question 10, an organization highly values security. However, a team member on a project has found a way to save time and money with less robust security features. What should that team member do? Now when it comes to Agile, you must always think oneness. So whatever you find out, whatever you want to do, you are more loyal to your team than any other person, because you're working together. So if you look any option that will make you think outside your team, because it's only a team member that had that idea. Most times in waterfall, we always want to be the best. So we want to wait for meetings before we share ideas. But no, when it comes to Agile team, it's our idea. Even though you are the one that came up with that idea, it is our idea. It's not your idea. So we take ownership of it. So let's look at the best answer. A, influence the customer. That means the team should go straight to the customer. It means that that's already waterfall. You're not working together, because going straight to the customer means you want to outshine everybody. And that's not part of Agile value anymore. You're not working together. Now, B, is mention the idea at the next retrospective. Retrospective is where the team sits together and talk and discuss. Okay? So the best thing to do most times is to wait for seasons or moments whereby you can share whatever thoughts that came to your mind with your team. They can say yes, they can say no. But we must share with the team members first. Now, C, show the customer how much time and money will be saved. You are going to the customer directly again. You're not going to, you should go to your team first. Now, present the idea at the next ceremony attended by stakeholders to obtain their input. You're still going out of, you're still going out of your team. You're meant to focus on your team first, to share the ideas with your team. And you see, when it comes to retrospective, that's where team meets and share ideas. And that's basically the best answer. Mention the idea at the next meeting. Now, I need to give you an example of one day we had the meeting and we made a decision. Now, one of my team members had a different opinion and came to me. The first thing I said is that we need to go back to the boardroom where everybody will be brought together again and share the same idea. They said, but you can approve. No, I can't approve because it was a shared idea. So we need to go back, fix it, and now come back to the stakeholders with our idea. So we can come back to stakeholders and say, we said this, not one person saying it. So the best answer is mention the idea at the next sprint to the next retrospective to the team. Question 11 reads, during its first sprint, a new Scrum team realizes that it has insufficient team members with test automation skills to efficiently complete its stories. What should the team do? That's a great mistake. That means they're not cross-functional. Cross-functional teams means they must have sufficient skills to complete the work of a sprint. But now these guys don't have, so what should they do? Let's look at the first one. Cross-train some members in the automation framework to broaden their capacity with that skill. B, ask the product owner to add team members to boost team's particular skill set. We don't add team members, okay? We're already 10, so we cannot add more people, so we cannot have team members. So C, send a member to automation framework training when funds are available. We need the skill, so what do? So that means we're going to fail. So the D says, avoid using test automation by swarming on the testing task and using manual. That means we're failing because we're just avoiding a skill. We need that skill. So cross-training looks like the best answer because we said cross-train some team members in automation framework to broaden capacity with that skill. Because we need that skill and we must look for ways to build that skill. So A is the best answer. During sprint planning, team members have differing opinions on a feature that delivers business value, but fails to provide a long-term solution for the customer. How should the team resolve this? Refer to the values of the Agile framework and the team. During sprint planning, team members have differing opinions on a feature that delivers business value, but fails to provide a long-term solution for the customer. So how should the team resolve this? Okay, review the signed contract. That's not the answer. Check the sprint priority list. That's not the answer because we're still planning. So we've not be able to narrow down what should be in our sprint backlog. So at this time, we're still having a lot of conflict, arguing, and we're not yet agreeing. So it cannot be the C. It cannot be C. D says submit the problem to the product owner. Of course, the product owner is not responsible for sprint planning. Okay, the product owner is responsible for populating the product backlog and also doing product backlog grooming and also backlog management. So that's not his own, should I say, jurisdiction. So we need to look at A closely, refer to the values of the Agile framework and the team. So there are values of collaboration. Okay, if the team comes together to collaborate and you have different opinion, That's why we said the Scrum Master must always educate the team on how to collaborate, on how to discuss, on how to argue, on how to do this. So, and they are being governed by the principles of Agile and principles of Scrum. So when these things is going on, when they're not coming together, they're not agreeing, the best is to reiterate value, okay, the values of Scrum, and see why everybody must work together to agree. And that's the best answer that the team should revert to. So the answer is A, refer to the values of Agile framework and the team. Others are not it at all, because this is looking at customer contracts. They say check the sprint priority list and you don't have it or you don't have it, then submit the problem to the product owner. Of course, product owner is not the one that will solve problems like this. So the best answer is to refer back to the values that we can use to collaborate better and work together better, because the team will always have conflict. So, but what governs how we collaborate and how we resolve conflict is our team norms, our values, and our team guidelines. So we go back to the values of the Agile framework. 13 says, a project team realizes that an important task on the iteration backlog, that can also be called the sprint backlog or iteration backlog, any way you want to call it, will take more time than originally estimated. What should the project team do? They realize that an important task will take more time, okay? On the iteration backlog, let's look at what you should do. Continue working on the task until it's completed. But they are working within a time box, okay? So let's look at the next one. Remove the task owner from the project team. That can be the answer. Now, add resources to reduce time to task completion. No, that cannot be the right answer. Now, stop working on the task and include it in the next iteration. So it cannot be B, it cannot be C, it's going to be between A and B. So if you look at D, this says stop working on the task and include it in the next iteration, because whatever we cannot finish, we should not do. And you see, if a task will take more time, that means this question is saying that the team have committed to what is beyond their capacity. They were assuming they could finish, but they realized that they cannot finish it. So they need to drop it because they know already they cannot finish it. So stop working on that task they cannot finish. Probably it's too big for that sprint, okay? So they need to kill it for the next sprint. That is if the product owner agrees to prioritize it as one of the most important thing to do in the next sprint. But we must first take it out, because whatever we've committed to must be something we can complete within a sprint, and we have capacity to complete. So the best answer is D. Okay, we can't keep trying to continue what we know we cannot finish. Okay, so D is the best answer. Let's get question 14. The Scrum Master notices repeated friction between two team members. Maybe they've gone to boxing school before. Now, in the daily Scrum, they're throwing tantrums. I don't know what kind of, maybe something must have happened, but let's look at what the question is saying. The next step should be what? Now, the Scrum attempt to resolve the problem directly and immediately during a Scrum meeting. You know, the Scrum Master does not get involved in Scrum meetings, okay? The daily Scrum, and it does not resolve issues for people, okay? Teams have to self-organize and self-manage. So it looks like kind of, hey. Now, B, schedule a meeting with them after daily Scrum meeting to explore and resolve the issue. Ignore the friction because self-organizing teams must sort out conflict issues. Okay? Ask for new resources to replace them before the friction undermines team productivity. So it cannot be A, okay? We cannot also resolve the team for them. So between B and C, so let's look at what it is. Schedule meeting with them after daily Scrum meeting to explore and resolve the conflict. Number C says, ignore the friction because self-organizing team must sort out. Now, the friction is becoming an impediment. Okay? So we cannot ignore the friction. So B is after the meeting, because the daily Scrum must not be more than 15 minutes. So the Scrum Master, they cannot resolve the conflict within the daily Scrum, but after the daily Scrum, they can meet together and find a way of exploring options. And you might have to train them, you might have to talk to them about how best to collaborate how best to work together. But B looks like the best answer, that schedule a meeting with the team after daily scrum meeting to explore and resolve the issue. Okay, that's the answer. Question 15. The best approach to estimate the work on a project when using story points is to have A. Team members assign estimates by averaging planning poker cards. B. The most senior team member prepared the estimate. Nonsense. That's not collaboration anymore. No. C is 2 or 3 senior team members estimate and take average. This is also going back to waterfall, that your guys should be the one, the bosses should be the one to know what to do. Now, D says the team work together to agree on estimates in a group setting. Now, the D stands more because this is saying that it's only planning poker that can be used. So, and the team need to decide on what they feel is most important, the best way to estimate things by themselves. So, team members assign estimate by averaging planning poker cards. No. The last answer, D, it looks like the best answer. The team work together to agree on estimates in a group setting. So in Agile, there's no boss, so there's no senior team member. Everybody's respected. Everybody has equal power. So D is promoting collaboration, and that's why D is the best answer. Now, question 16 says, Team A is producing 61 points per iteration, and Team B is producing 20 points per iteration. Team A has more senior engineers. A manager demands, that's a waterfall problem again, because a manager, there's no, why is he demanding? Demands that Team B match Team A. This is not self-organization anymore. They're not self-managing, because that's against Agile value. For someone to come and say, team must increase their velocity. No, that's wrong. So points iteration, based on this information, it is reasonable to tell the manager that A, it is impossible to compare 2 separate teams on points alone. Now, in Agile team, whatever point they say they can finish is what they can finish. So you can compare, because you see, the interpretation of points is unique to the team. And that's why we use more of relative estimating in Agile, because what I see as a 10, and some team agree, Team A might see 10, might say a story point is 10, while Team B is calling that story point B, calling that story point 4. Now, based on the interpretation of Team A, what they call 4 is actually what Team B is calling 10, because it's not absolute. Anybody can call based on their assumption. It's very subjective, the estimate. So if they have called it 10 and someone is calling it 4, you can compare, because it's possible that the next user story, they will call it 1. And 4 means they've seen it as 4 times the 1. And the other team might call the next user story maybe 3 or 2.5, meaning that they're seeing the 4 times more than 2.5. So the interpretation is unique to everything. Okay, so to promote self-management, self-organization, and to make sure team decides on what they want to do at the pace they can go, only choose user stories that fit into what they can do, the best answer is A. Other ones is promoting waterfall, saying Team B's points will match Team A if Team B gets more senior engineers. That means they're not looking at themselves as one. And Team C says Team B must have help self-organizing so their points match Team B. No, it's their interpretation. You cannot use other people's interpretation. So now Team D says Team B's points will increase if product owner become more involved. That's not the answer, it's their interpretation. So the only answer that promotes self-organization, sustainable pace movement, and self-managed teams is A. And that's, it is impossible to compare 2 separate teams on points alone. Okay? Question 17. When using Agile Earned Value Management, progress should be measured at which level? Now, if you've not read about Agile Earned Value Management, you need to know this, and this is very, very important. Agile Earned Value Management is used majorly to manage, we use it with the, what they call a product roadmap, which communicates the release. So each each team will have their release plan. That's what they intend to release at a point in time. So, and these are story points also. So a team might say, okay, you know what? We're going to be releasing every 6 months. And let's say in our product backlog, we have 200 story points work there. And they might break it down and say, okay, we're going to be releasing 100 story points every 5 months. So it means that they're committing to 20 point iteration goal. So for every 4 weeks, they must complete 20. Another 4 weeks, they must complete 20. That means in 5 months, they will complete 100. So they're telling themselves that, okay, in the next 5 months, we'll have the next release. So when it comes to agile earned value management, we use it to manage releases, not task, not iteration, not the product, but release. So, and there might be different releases in the product roadmap, okay? I know a lot of us have read about the product roadmap, so I don't have to talk about that now. But for each release, we want to measure how the team performed within the release. And release is not iteration because we have several iterations in a release. So the focus of agile and value management is how are we doing within a particular release? How did the team perform within the release? So the answer is D. 18. An agile team best ensures product quality through A, the development team use of pair programming. You know, don't forget that one of the major good things about Agile is quality driven. Agile wants to ensure there's quality. And that's the major good thing about Agile because quality is what the customer says it is. And Agile usually carry the customer along. The product owner that represents the business is part of the team. So let's look at that. Let's look at the answer and say an Agile team best ensures product quality through what? A, development team's use of pair programming. B, quality assurance daily collaboration with the development team. There's nothing called quality assurance and daily collaboration. That's not an agile process or agile practice. Now, C, more frequent inspection after each iteration. Now, D, feedback gathered during iteration retrospective. So now, you see, when we say quality, we said it is what the customer says it is. And after every iteration, now, when we are showcasing the product to the customer, we're asking, does it match your quality definition? And that process that we call it review. Some call it iteration review, some call it sprint review. No matter the method you're talking about, if you're using XP, you call it iteration review. When you're using Scrum, you call it sprint review. But the reason for that review is to make sure that the stakeholders or the customer is inspecting what you are doing. So whatever results you've achieved in an iteration, you are showing the customer and say, is this what you want? Is this what we agreed? Or do you have any adjustment to what we've done? So if you look at which promotes that, is that the more frequent inspection you have with the customer, the more the customer can give you feedback about what they want, about whether what you are doing is exactly what they told you to do or what they're expecting. But you see, if you don't do this inspection, you'll be running very fast on the wrong road. And you don't even know whether what you're doing is satisfying the customer. So to improve quality, increase your number of times, have frequent inspection with the customer, with the stakeholders, and you can get better feedback and you get better product because they're adjusting what you're doing and you're not running very fast on the wrong road. So the best answer is C. Let the team have frequent inspection and is a major pillar of Agile. Don't forget the 3 pillars of Agile: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So high inspection is the best answer, and that's C. Now, question 19. Who is responsible for the DOD? Definition of done. Now, there are majorly 3 participants in all Agile. We call it Scrum team. We have the product owner, we have the Scrum master, we have the team. And don't forget, in Agile, there's no project manager. So that's out of the way. And in Agile, management don't get involved. That's out of the way. So we only have 2 names that sound like what we should be talking about. That's the team and the product owner. But however, the product owner is interested in the product goal. So he just wants things to work in alignment with the product goal to be achieved. But you see, the team must ensure that all increments, anything they're trying to do within a sprint, that's what we call increment, all deliverables at the end of a sprint must meet the definition of done. So all the team, the only way we can collaborate to know whether we are done is if every member of the team understand what done is. So let's say, for example, you're cooking a meal and you say before you can give the customer, make sure you taste it. So any meal we've not tasted cannot be delivered. So now somebody is now done, but it has not gone to testing. Maybe you say, who are the ones that must taste it? You must taste it. People in the house must taste it. Everybody, 3 people must taste it until we can deliver to the customer. So the definition of done is that until we get feedbacks from all the people that must taste it, we cannot say we are done. So let's now imagine that some people finish cooking, then they now run to go and give the customer. Then that product have not been able to achieve the definition of done. And that's how the team know within themselves that they've completed. And most thing we say is that until the team complete the definition of done, deliver their increment to meet definition of done, they cannot even do the sprint review. They cannot meet the stakeholders for inspection because they too themselves, they've not checked what they've done, what they have done, and ensure that what they have done satisfy everybody based on their definition before the beginning, based on the definition before they began the sprint. That, okay, what end will be is that this is our end, and that's what we specify as definition of done. So the team is responsible for the definition of done. And most times in classes, I tell people that some organization, they have their own definition of done. So, but if your company or organization does not have anyone, then the team must form a definition of done before any increment. So the person responsible for the definition of done is the team. Okay, 20, the question looks somehow, is that a Scrum Master, A, prioritizes the work of each iteration. No, Scrum Master doesn't get involved in the work. All the Scrum Master does is to train, educate, remove impediments, facilitate, but it does not help them prioritize the work of each iteration. Okay, now direct the activities of the team. That's a project manager already, because a project manager is one that directs, and Scrum Master is an agile. When the Scrum Master starts directing, it's no longer agile. Okay, it has turned to waterfall. So Scrum Master does not direct activities of the team because the team self-organize and they self-manage. So the C says provide leadership, guidance, and coaching. That sounds very close to the role of a Scrum Master. Now, the last one says, manages the project scope. And this is also waterfall again. It means the Scrum Master is becoming a manager. So the best answer is C. Scrum Master is meant to provide leadership. It's meant to educate. It's meant to facilitate. It's meant to train the team. It's meant to be a servant leader. So provide leadership and guidance. So in case the product owner does not know how to estimate things, in case the team are having conflict, all he does is to keep educating them, coaching them, guiding them on how not to do things, but they make decisions themselves. So he guides and coaches. So the best answer is C, as a role of a Scrum Master. Others are already waterfall. So prioritizes work, waterfall. Direct activities, waterfall. D, waterfall. This is the only agile practice in alignment with the Scrum Master role.